The clock strikes midnight when a man climbs the staircase to a special room in his house. He wears nothing but a robe with strange designs on it and carries a book and a bowl of water. Seating himself in front of a three-legged stand, he sprinkles some water onto his robe and onto his feet, and then places the bowl of water onto the stand. He gazes into the water and goes into a trance. Voices speak to him, and he sees pictures of earthquakes, fires, and wars. And all the time he's in this trance, the man is writing down what he sees in his book. And when the morning light comes through the window, he is finished. The man was Michael de Nostradamus, calling himself Nostradamus. Born in 1503 France, Nostradamus grew up to become a doctor, and as a young man he traveled throughout Europe healing victims from the Black Plague, a horrible disease. Returning home, he married and settled down to practice medicine, but after just 2 short years of marriage, his wife and children died from the plague. Heartbroken, Nostradamus returned to his travels, and wherever he visited, he left healthier people. It was almost as if his medicine had healing charms. And about this time, Nostradamus began having visions in which he could see the future. During his travels in Italy, he approached a young monk in the street and knelt before him, addressing him as His Holiness. 19 years after Nostradamus died, that very monk was elected Pope Sixtus V. Nostradamus remarried when he was 40 years old, and his wife was very wealthy, giving him the opportunity to give up his medical practice and devote more of his time to the trances that allowed him to see the future. And during these trances, he wrote down his visions in 4-line verses and grouped these into sets of 100 verses, and he called these sets centuries. While the visions were very clear to Nostradamus, he didn't exactly write them down in a way that was understood by most people. He didn't want them to anger people in authority, nor did he want to be accused of sorcery, a crime punishable by burning at the stake. In 1555, he published his book Centuries, which would become an absolute bestseller. However, as excited as the people were about the events that he forecasted, many were angry that he didn't give exact dates on when they would occur, but these critics would be stopped after one of his predictions occurred shortly after his book was published. It was the death of King Henry II, King of France. Nostradamus had written, a young lion will defeat an old lion in a duel. The young lion's weapon will pierce the golden cage of the old lion, and the weapon will strike into the eyes of the old lion, and he will die. Nostradamus' prediction sounded vague, yet unbelievably he forecasted correctly what happened. A young nobleman's lance went through King Henry's golden helmet in a jousting match and ripped into his eyes. The old king suffered for 10 whole days and then died. After this event, Nostradamus' reputation as a prophet was well established and became a friend and advisor to many great rulers and people of influence. One day in 1566, Nostradamus told one of his students, "Tomorrow I shall not be here at sunrise." And the following day, he died. Nostradamus was buried standing up because he hilariously didn't want anyone walking on his bones. He had asked that a blank metal plate be secretly buried with him, and in 1700 his coffin was opened and moved to a new tomb. And inside the coffin, the workmen found a 134-year-old plate with the current date, 1700, inscribed on it. And in addition to his centuries, Nostradamus wrote 1,200 predictions that forecasted events from 1555 to 3797. Again, the predictions were written in a very vague manner and have been interpreted in many different ways. But here are just a few of the many events that people argue were seen by Nostradamus in his visions and predicted. The Great Fire of London in 1666, the beheading of King Louis XVI and Marie-Antoinette in the French Revolution, 1793, the celebration of the scientist Louis Pasteur, the birth, rise, and defeat of Napoleon, the invention of the radio, television, and the submarine, the coming of Hitler in Germany, the dropping of the atomic bomb in 1945, the assassination of John and Robert Kennedy, and most shockingly, 9/11. And if you think his warnings sound a bit harsh, remember that he wasn't always right, and sometimes he was interpreted completely incorrectly. The prophet had said that 1732 would be a year of great destruction and terror, but actually 1732 was quite a quiet time. Nostradamus also predicted that World War III would break out in the 90s, which of course didn't happen. But remember that Nostradamus' predictions run until the year 3797, meaning the vast majority of his predictions have yet to happen. But I want to leave this video open-ended and hear what you think about Nostradamus. Was he fake, a legend, or maybe something in between? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every single person who comments. And if you liked today's video and you want to see more informative yet entertaining stories, be sure to check out this video here where I talk about the oldest piece of art we have on Earth, where I include photos of the said art and even a facial reconstruction of the potential artist. Alright guys, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.